New on Curiosity Stream.
I'm James Burke. I'm going to take you on a journey through time.
James Burke's visionary series returns, reimagined for our time.
Now, this is all uncharted territory.
The Washington Post hails Burke as one of the most intriguing minds in the Western world. The New York Times raves he careens from one great moment in history to another.
Where do we want to go from here?
Experience all new connections.
So what's the next connection?
With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at CuriosityStream.com.
You probably know the feeling. Sweaty, fast breathing, quick heart rate. That's a cortisol spike. It feels awful, and its imbalance is the cause of your anxiety. Rebalance Health's 3-part anxiety system helps address it at the root. Rebalance Health lozenges are natural and designed for optimal absorption, providing 24-hour relief. Live life fully without feeling like you're fighting for it. Get 50% off your first month with code CALM23 at rebalancehealth.com.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. Would probably help if I put myself on the screen. What you know, Alibis. Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. It's early in the morning. I'm still tired. You guys are going to get this later in the day. But I hope you're having a good Friday. It's the weekend, y'all. Cannot wait. Tomorrow night is my night. Your girl is going to see Roger Waters. I may go live on Twitter or something just because I'm going to be so excited. All right. So real quick, I don't think I showed this yesterday, but I took this picture of this. I think it's a grasshopper. I hate bugs, but it was super pretty. And so I'm like, wow. So I get this really cool close up. And then if you look on the side of this grasshopper, he has vents that remind me of what you see like on a Mustang, like on the hood of a Mustang, which enabled him within a millisecond of me hitting the click button for him to jump onto my shirt, in which I had some involuntary body movements. And I don't know what came out of my mouth, but my neighbor that's catty corner to me was like watering her plants, just staring. Oh boy. I do have one little spider that like stays in the corner and eats little bugs or whatever. I let him come in, but otherwise I don't like bugs. No. All right. Music fact of the day. The most played radio song, at least as of 2019, is Stingin' the Police, Every Breath You Take. It overtook the Righteous Brothers, who held that number one spot for 22 years with You've Lost That Loving Feeling. So what's funny is most people think this is like a romantic song, but it's not. This song is about an obsession with a lost lover and the jealousy that follows when you lose somebody. It is, it's interesting with music, though. You can take a song and the artist had a completely different meaning of that song when they wrote it. But what you feel is like what you feel. And you can tell me that, this song it means this, but to me, it may mean something else. That's what I love about music. Also, I love misheard lyrics. And my 4-year, she's 17 now, but when my daughter was 4, she loved Elton John, Tiny Dancer. And so she'd be in her little, like booster seat. I was so crazy. I kept my kids in boosters till they were like 6. And she would sing Tiny Dancer, count the head lice on the highway, like the head lice. So funny. All right. So the other thing, thank you guys to everybody who told me that I butchered that word yesterday. Look, it especially if you're new. You got to understand something. I'm Southern and I say it like I see it. And I do go to these sites to try and learn how to say it so that I'm not being disrespectful to anybody's religion or anything like that. But everybody pronounces stuff different based on where you're from. And then my little Southern brain and mouth like comes out something totally different. But I do have one dedicated person now. If there is a word that has to do with religion that I don't know, I will send them the word and they will send me a voice thing back. So also yesterday we went through the timeline with Brandon Boudreaux and the attempted murder. I think it's a really important part of this story. And, we have the 4 victims that were murdered. And Brandon was almost 4 out of what would have been 5 had Alex been successful. And I think it's a very big part of this story. So we're going to get into the interview that Melaniece did with Gilbert PD. And then we have a lot of new listeners who want to know why I call her Melaniece. And it's just easier because there's two Melanies. And then you feel like you got to say Pulowski or Gibb, and then it's just like a lot of mouthful. So Melaniece is kind of something that me and Fruit Loop came up with a while back. All right. So at the interview, she actually brought her youngest child with her to this interview. And so initially, the investigator just kind of wanted to know the background as the reason for their divorce. And so Melanie's told him about her theories and Lori's, or, what really came from Lori, this vision about Brandon. And she said that, so Brandon had told Melanie she was crazy and actually suggested she seek a mental evaluation when her reasoning for the divorce was that she had suspicions he was gay. And Melaniece told the investigator she knew she wasn't crazy and she knew the truth. So it says, as a result of her suspicions, she primarily communicated with Brandon through text message and maintained as little contact as possible, which I think is really sad. When you have 4 kids, you've got to constantly talk to each other in a civil way. I mean, that's, people that get divorced, man, these kids didn't ask for that. Like, you've got to keep it together for those kids. Brandon and Melaniece filed for divorce, as we know, in July of 2019. And Melaniece told the investigator since their divorce, Brandon had turned church members and her own family against her. She said a lot of people believed what Brandon said about her, so she learned to stay independent. She said at this point, the only people she really talks to on a regular basis was her grandmother, Janice, and Aunt Lori. As far as finances, she was asked about those. She said that Brandon had always made decent money since they had been together, and he owned several different companies over the years and shared responsibilities with business partners and friends. But as a result of their divorce, Melaniece got some payouts, I believe, from companies that he owned. One says Avogard Insurance, which was Brandon's previous company. And she also said that Brandon paid her child support monthly. And she said she was not concerned about money despite not being employed. And that's one thing, if you look at it, like, most of these people didn't work. Lori didn't work. Melaniece didn't work. Zulema worked as, like, what, a cuddler? Maybe she had like a real job, but I know she was a cuddle expert. And then you got Alex, who essentially just quit his job to follow Lori around. And then I don't know about Melanie Gibb, but man, all these people, get a job, y'all. So anyway, she confirmed she was also still on Brandon's life insurance policy. She was supposed to get her life insurance. Melaniece was supposed to get herself life insurance with Brandon as the beneficiary per the divorce mediation, but had yet to do so. And so the investigator asked her about her day yesterday, which would have been the day Brandon was shot at. And she said Brandon dropped off their youngest at her house that morning. And she couldn't remember what she did after she got the baby. She said sometimes they went to the park, sometimes they went to the gym, and other times the mall. But she couldn't remember for certain what they did yesterday. It's so bizarre and probably not true. She said she did remember ordering groceries online and then made dinner and went to bed. And the investigator asked if she communicated with anyone and said she received multiple phone calls from Brandon, which was not normal. Brandon also sent a message to her explaining he had a bad day and wanted to check on their children. Melaniece said she did not reply until 6:52 this morning of this day on the 3rd, and messaged that the children were okay and she hoped that Brandon had a better day. Otherwise, she could not remember if she talked to anybody else. So the investigator told Melaniece that somebody tried to shoot Brandon yesterday. And the investigator said she did not have a change of expression and stayed quiet. I asked if she knew anyone who would want to hurt or kill Brandon, and she said Brandon had a lot of friends and spent time with people that she didn't know. She then told me about an open investigator I'm sorry. She told me Brandon also had a history of doing business with her uncle, Charles Vallow, and told the investigator about an open investigation by Chandler police that involved Charles, her Aunt Lori, and Melanie said Charles went to Lori's house and was threatening to hit her uncle, Alex, with a ball bat. Then she says Charles tries to hit Tylee with the bat. As a result, Alex shoots and kills Charles. And Melaniece said the homicide was justified as self-defense. She said that Charles and Brandon used to communicate on a regular basis. And she tried to tell Brandon not to talk with Charles because Charles cheated on Lori. And since Charles's death, Brandon tried to tell Melaniece that Charles was murdered by Alex and not in self-defense. She felt Brandon was trying to put a wedge between her and her family, particularly Alex and Lori. And she explained how Lori was someone she could trust and felt very close to. And it says, per my request, she provided me with identification information for Alex, Lori, and it's redacted. So she was unsure if Lori, Alex, and redacted lived together. I'm assuming Tylee maybe. She believed Tylee, yeah, so it's redacted, was in college or something, but did not know where. So remember, this is after the move to Rexburg. This is after JJ and Tylee had been murdered. So she denied knowing the specific location for Lori or Alex. She told me the last time she saw either one of them was approximately 2 weeks ago before Lori moved. And she said Lori had an autistic son who was with her, and she was unsure of what school she wanted him to go to in Idaho. When she was asked for any viable phone numbers, addresses, or contact information that could help this investigator reach them, she said she would not give that type of information because she was told that people could track phones and use listening devices to gather information. She said Lori had to do her own thing while she figured out her divorce with Brandon. It says, at the conclusion of the interview, she asked if Brandon was okay. I told her he was alive. She didn't have any further information for me, and we ended the interview. So the detective notes after his interview with her, his suspicions about her involvement increased. Now, we know that Gilbert PD, as of right now, say they are not pressing charges against her. So fast forward a while down the road to a filing found on her current husband Ian's computer that was given to Brandon, which in return he used in his custody case against Melaniece. It says on their wedding night, Ian said she stated that Brandon had been possessed by a demon or another dark entity sometime after June of this year. She was told either through revelation or by Chad that something needed to happen to Brandon in order for his spirit to progress and the Lord's plan to continue. She didn't take well to the idea of her husband dying as part of the Lord's plan, but didn't think action would be taken by anyone. Ian said he got worried when Melaniece said that Chad and Lori could have directed Alex to take a shot at Brandon, but it wasn't anything she was sure about. And the document also says she shared concerns that she had been told Brandon needed to die, and that may indicate that Tylee and JJ needed to die as well. She told me she was worried that Alex may have had to take care of the kids, and that's in quotes, take care. She explained that Alex had great faith and never wavered in his trust in the Lord. No task would be too difficult or too great for him. And Ian's ex-wife, Natalie, got in touch with Brandon and told him that Melaniece is in a cult and that she knew about the attempt on his life. So that was kind of all. It didn't seem like a super long interview with her. So on October 4th, if you remember, Chad had come in from being outside and said, your grandma's visited me. Her spirits visited me. You got to go see your parents in Utah. So she drives to Springville alone that day, October 4th. Her dad said during that visit, she was super healthy. She was taking Zumba classes and clogging classes and was dancing in their living room while she was there. So let's see here. Lori receives a text from an unknown person. The text was deleted, but investigators found it. So this is what the text said. All right, and I got a word in here. I'm going to see if I get it. I said it wrong. The LDS woman who is an expert in all the feast of days of the Hebrews that the Lord sent me to find through a dream didn't tell me the bride had to be the first to be symbolically translated before the 144,000. She said that the marriage feast always represented to the Hebrews the first resurrection. And the Lord had told her by the Spirit it would be at Adam-ondi-Ahman. Did I say that right? Y'all let me know. All right. The place where it all began. The bride had to be the first one resurrected in the first resurrection before the rest of her people, the 144,000, could. Because she had to atone and cleanse for her ancestors' sins and their ancestors' sin as feminine sacrifice in order for the church of the firstborn to be born. So investigators say an interpretation of this message would suggest that this was where Lori had to go to become translated and fulfill the beliefs of the church of the firstborn. And we know Lori would travel to Adam-ondi-Ahman on in just a few days on the 11th of October. The same day, there's a judgment in Alex's eviction case. So Lori texts Zulema on the 4th. Hey, beautiful girl, just checking in on you. Are we going to see you soon? Maybe you and I need to talk soon and do some, and it's kind of redacted. Maybe this conference weekend would be perfect. So Zulema responds, hello, beautiful goddess. Yes, maybe we should. Jules and I did some amazing work the other day. I'm so excited for this conference. Giv is coming over to watch it with me tomorrow. Lori says, so fun. Good. I'll call tomorrow after the first session. Will that be good? Zulema says, yes. So Tammy arrives at her parents' house in Springville, Utah. She has dinner with her mom and dad, and then she sleeps over at her sister's house. Her sister became very instrumental in finding the kids. They had the phone pings, but she was shown an overhead shot of the property and asked if she could point to where the pet cemetery was, and she did, and that helped investigators to find Tylee's remains. She seems like a really sweet woman. All of Tammy's family, they have been very classy throughout all of it. Chad told Zulema Tammy would die on this trip in a car accident, and when she didn't die, she became a zombie. Her sister said on Dateline when she learned Tammy was coming alone, that was really odd to her. So here we go. Chad and Lori start texting on this day as well. Investigators recover them because they have been deleted. Why? Because it totally shows premeditation, right? You know, it's one of those things that a lot of people always say, do you think, you know, she's going to get off? I'm like, no, look how much they covered up, deleted, made these elaborate lies up. No, y'all. So October 4th at 7:46 a.m. from Chad to Lori. Thank you for sending me that paragraph, beautiful Lily. I'm eager to see you soon. Trying to hasten her departure. Her being Tammy, by the way. I love you endlessly. And there was a lips emoji, a heart, and a fire. Glowing fire, I'm sure. You know, I kind of think he's obsessed with Harry Potter because he talks about being, you know, in the cupboard under the stairs, and he calls her Lily, and which was Harry's mom's name. I don't know. I think he's a Potterhead. The next day, October 5th, from Chad to Lori at 3:25 a.m. Hello, sweet angel. Big news about Tammy. Please let me know if you're awake and can talk. I love you. Heart and lips emoji. 1 minute later, Chad texts her again. The short version is that she's been switched. Tammy is in limbo. A level 3 demonic entity named Viola is in her body. It happened about 10 p.m. and was done by Tammy's sister, who I always knew was a 3 dark, but it turns out she's a multiple creation. So at 3:44 a.m., he texts again, excuse me, Viola has been attached for about a year to my niece, who is 12. The name's redacted, and it says 12-year-old daughter. I've connected with Tammy in limbo, and she is very frustrated and upset. She wants Viola removed as soon as possible. Viola seems to be similar to Penelope. The personality differences from Tammy should be evident quickly. Please seek a confirmation on this. but I have now checked 3 times since I got home and get more affirmative answers each time. Then at 3:54 a.m., not fully sure of the timing for removal, but once her actions verify the differences, I don't want to wait. Lord have mercy in heaven. There are 2 calls between Lori and Chad on the Spencer's wife phone, which obviously I think is Chad, on October 3rd and the 4th as well. So the next day on the 5th, Tammy wakes up around 9 in the morning and leaves Springville to go back to Rexburg. And then someone takes a photo of Alex at Mesa Falls while he's taking photos. I'm going to throw this up on the screen. That was on the 6th of October. Man, somebody should have pushed him over that little railing. No, none of us would have been sad, would we? He also visits the storage unit alone in his silver pickup truck. He removes a tote and a small box. He eventually returns to that unit 5 other times. We do know that a lot of the kids' stuff was found in there. Actually, when Lori didn't pay the bill, the owner called Nate Eaton from East Idaho News and said, "Hey, you want to come see what's in here?" Super sad to see all that stuff in there. So October 7th, the wedding ring that Lori ordered on Charles's Amazon account is delivered to her. On the screen, I've got the receipt for that. You can see the shipping address is the townhomes there in Rexburg, and it's to Charles Vallow. Insane. At 10:21 a.m., Alex texts Lori asking where she was, and Lori responds at JJ's school, "Be home in a few minutes," which makes no sense to me because we all sort of assume Alex had something to do with JJ's murder. And maybe she was there signing papers or something. I don't know. I thought that was really odd. A lot is redacted in this part of the report for this day on the 7th, but she does Google search for something that investigators thought was relevant. She sent several texts that were deleted and recovered. And it also says that she texted Audrey, presumably. If you remember, Audrey is this girl who lives in Missouri. Lori texted her when she was in Hawaii. Lori texted her in the Walgreens minutes after Charles Vallow had been murdered. And we know that in a few days, she's going to Missouri to visit this sacred place. So at 1:04 p.m., Lori's sister Summer texted and asked if she knew about the, quote, Tesla incident, which is the attempted murder of Brandon. And Summer says an incident that supposedly happened to Brandon sounds highly suspicious. And Lori says Brandon's Tesla or the Tesla company and puts 2 question marks. Summer says Brandon's. He claims someone shot at him and shot the window to his Tesla a few days ago. Police are looking into it. I think he's either trying to set Alex, or make a feature hit on Mel, which is Melaniece, make him look innocent knowing him. But who knows? Knowing him sounds suspicious to me. Lori says maybe it was Edgar. Where is he? And Summer puts I don't know, it's like 3 female emojis and then some squares, so it didn't come through. It says, I doubt it was him. He wouldn't miss or leave witnesses. He usually makes things look like natural causes, but I don't know where he is or what he's doing. He has a message to me on his Smule page, but I haven't responded. Summer then forwarded Lori an image of an unknown subject on music recording app Smule with the username of XZZYZX. It is suspected that this was Edgar. So it's almost like they're alleging they know a hitman. But I don't know for sure, allegedly. Just putting that out there. The report says, in the report, it says, searching Smule through Lori's iCloud account, I discovered that she was using this app to send songs or communicate with Chad Daybell as well. This was evident in the links that they would send to each other. And some of the songs that she sent was Just Can't Get Enough by the Black Eyed Peas, Let's Make Love by Faith Hill, and then I Dreamed a Dream from Les Mis. She got Chad feel like Mr. Roboto. So Lori Googled maps of the U.S. and also how long it would be to drive from Rexburg to Independence, Missouri. Then she looks at flights from Phoenix to Missouri. So on October 8th, she flies, and that, if you're on YouTube, that is the actual boarding pass. She flies from Idaho to Phoenix under the name Lori Ryan. And how is she able to do that? Well, I'm going to show you right here. She still had a valid Hawaii driver's license that actually, I believe, did not expire until this year. So I've got a picture of that driver's license up on the screen now. So you wonder, why is she traveling under Lori Ryan? For me, I think it's just maybe in her mind, if somebody's looking for her, like say the authorities, because her kids are dead, it's a little bit harder to find a Vallow who's under Orion. I don't know. It's very odd. For somebody who allegedly hated Joe, or I don't want to say allegedly, for somebody who hated Joe so much, it's pretty convenient she still used his last name when it benefited her. So investigators note that when her flight left to go to Phoenix, this is the day before the attempted murder of Tammy. And Chad only communicated with Alex on his burner phone and then Lori's regular phone. If you remember, I don't know if you saw this interview, but there was one, and I don't remember where it was from, and I need to find it so I can credit it. But Kay said when things go down, Lori scatters like a cockroach. And it's really, really true. If you look with Brandon, she's in Idaho. With the attempt on Tammy, she's in Arizona. When Tammy's murdered, I believe she's in Hawaii. So yeah, she gets far away from all that. So Chad's phone was pinged in the townhomes at 1:20 p.m. that day and stayed about an hour. Lori's flight was an Allegiant flight from Idaho Falls to Phoenix at 9:58 a.m. And Lori texts Zulema at 4:19 p.m. Hello, gorgeous. What does your schedule look like today? Zulema says, I work until 7, and in a few, I'm driving to my next case, and it will take me at least 20 minutes to get there. Then she texts and tried to call, but it went to voicemail. So Lori says almost an hour later, sorry, my phone's having trouble. Just call me back on your way home. Also, Lori texts somebody that she is at a car dealership and she is trading in her car, which was an Infiniti to a Rogue. Between October 8th and the 12th, Alex conducted multiple internet searches related to Grendel drop and shooting through a Dodge Dakota. So October the 9th, Alex obtains a burner phone, and at 1:30 p.m., Lori texts Zulema the address to Melaniece's, saying that is the address for that night. So excited to see you. Alex travels to Sportsman's Warehouse to the vicinity of the Daybell residence. So Tammy Daybell is shot at by Alex. I'm going to put this up on the screen. This is Tammy's actual Facebook post where she posted about it. It says she was in her driveway and she was returning home from a church function. In the post, she says, okay, neighbors, something really weird just happened and I want you to know so you can watch out. I'd gotten home and parked in front of our driveway. As I was getting stuff out of the back seat, a guy wearing a ski mask was suddenly standing by the back of my car with a paintball gun. He shot at me several times, although I don't think it was loaded. I yelled for Chad and he ran off around the back of my house. I have no idea what his motive was, and he never spoke even after I asked him several times what he thought he was doing. I was about to smack him with my freezer meals from enrichment tonight when I decided to yell for Chad instead. Her sister said on Dateline when she was on there that actually Tammy said she kind of went after Alex. So in the Gilbert documents for the attempt on Brandon, it actually refers to this attempt, and it identifies Chad as the facilitator for the attempt on Tammy and Alex as the shooter. So Fremont County Sheriff Lynn Humphreys told East Idaho News that Tammy did call the police office and reported the incident. Investigators thought it was probably a prankster and nobody was ever found. He said, our deputy went out there, investigated the report, but he was unable to find anything, which is interesting because if you remember, they weren't able to find any shell casings. I kind of wonder if maybe Alex didn't have a brass catcher on his gun where when it ejects I'm not a gun person, the little casing, like it catches it in a bag so you don't leave it behind. Because you would have thought if he attempted to shoot her several times, maybe the gun misfired, maybe it jammed. I don't know. She said several times. A neighbor of the Daybells told the Rexburg Standard Journal that it was a freezing night, too cold for kids to be running around doing pranks. But everybody was out with spotlights, searching in the neighborhood sheds, actually, for the gunman. This neighbor thinks the gunman knew Tammy would be there, and he came around the corner of the house. Now, I checked the historical weather for Salem, Idaho for that night, and it was 21 degrees, so it was cold. Also, investigators find that texts were exchanged between Alex and with Chad and also Lori at some point. They were texting each other. So let's see here. In an email between investigators on March 6, 2020, they confirmed they have some doorbell camera footage from the night. They also send a redacted, almost full page of cell phone interactions from that day of calls between Lori, Chad, and Alex. So at 8:04 p.m., Lori texts Zulema, okay, perfect. Just text me when are you still able to come tonight? And Zulema says, yes, just finished on my way. Lori says they're outside hanging out. See you in a few. And then Lori texts Zulema 4 minutes later at 8:08 p.m. Okay, perfect. Just text me when you're close and I'll come outside since the kids are sleeping. And by kids, it's Melaniece's kids because she's in Arizona staying with her. At 9:16 p.m., Alex sends Lori a text. I've never been able to find a time frame for when the attempt on Tammy was made. If any of you know that, let me know. I'm trying to figure out, like, within this timeline, when he texts Lori at 9:16, was that before or after? At 11:11 p.m., Alex texts Zulema, and they talk on the phone for 38 minutes, which is really out of the ordinary for them since they don't usually communicate late at night. So on October 10th, Zulema sends Lori a text at 11:20 in the morning. It was so great to see you last night. Are you girls going to Missouri today? Lori responds at 12:42. Yep, just got on the plane. Missing you. You are wonderful. I hope you come soon. Let me know when you can and we will get you a ticket. Let me see here. Zulema says, have fun there. I hope you girls have a ton of fun. I love you. I'll be there soon. So Lori goes to Missouri. Investigators find a deleted text on Lori's phone. At some point, Lori texts someone that American Airlines has a nonstop flight, Phoenix to Kansas City at 1 p.m., then fly back Saturday at 6:30. Audrey said we could stay with her, but I told her we could get a hotel and she could stay with us. She will take us to all the amazing sites. I kind of think maybe that text was to Melaniece, but that's kind of a guess. So October 11th and 12th, investigators find numerous photos of Lori and friends in Missouri. And this is where LDS teachings say Adam and Eve lived after being cast out of the Garden of Eden. It teaches that this is the place that will be a gathering spot for a meeting of the priesthood leadership, including prophets of all ages and other righteous people prior to the second coming of Jesus Christ. So October 13th, Kay sends an email to Lori asking to see JJ and saying they miss him. Lori says she's trying to get JJ settled in, and the same day Lori flies from Phoenix to Idaho, again using the name Lori Ryan. So there's an email between investigators on February 3rd of 2020, and there's one that says, here are some other interesting lies. And the files are dated September 5th, 2019, September 9th, 2019, and September 12th, 2019. The other investigator responds, very interesting. Let us know if you find any other emails like those. Any emails around the dates the children disappeared, September 8th and the 26th, could help give us insight into what they were doing, would also help. Also, on this day, Brandon meets with a private investigator named Rich Robertson. I love this guy. I think he's super smart. I've seen a lot of interviews with him. Brandon said he wanted him to locate Alex and the Jeep as well as Melaniece. He hadn't heard from her in 2 weeks. And Mr. Robertson told Inside Edition he was so anxious that we actually met in my office on a Sunday morning, and he told me this wild tale of killing and missing people and religious cults, and that he had been the victim of a drive-by shooting. Basically, the bottom line for him at that point, he was hoping I could find Alex Cox and the Jeep that Alex was driving and find his wife, whom he had lost contact with for about 2 weeks. They were going through a divorce. They were supposed to exchange their 4 kids, and she did not show up for that last meeting. And then he was the target of a drive-by shooting that was connected to Charles. He thought his assailant was Alex Cox since that Jeep belonged to Charles. So we're going to stop there. And I did get over 200 pages of documents from the Caitlin Armstrong case today. I'm going to go through those. I won't put out an episode tomorrow. We're leaving really, really early in the morning to hit Hotlanta and spend the day there. But I really want to go through some of these documents. It's interesting. There's been a lot of hoopla about saying that she wasn't read her Miranda rights and all this stuff. So I really want to dive into those. Next week, we will keep going with this. I've got an episode ready to update on Alec Murdaugh. He just got some new charges. I think he's up to 90 at this point. And what else? Josh Duggar. There was a little bit of an update about extending the deadline for his attorneys to file an appeal, things like that. So the next episode actually may be just catching up on other cases we're following. And then in a couple of weeks, we start the Wagner trial. If you're on social media, Facebook and Twitter, I'll do it. I've figured out here on YouTube how to use the community tab, which is really cool because I can chat with everybody. I'll put it there too. But it is a family photo of the Wagners and the Rodens at what I think is George IV's wedding. And it's so weird to see them all in the same picture, arms around each other, knowing what we know. All right, guys. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. I will talk to you soon.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing to keep the Grinch away from the toy drive.
Who's going to deliver the toys to the kids?
What about me, the Grinch?
No.
Yep, even easier than that.
You steal the presents one time.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Capital One N.A. member FDIC. Copyright Dr. Seuss Enterprises. Copyright Turner Entertainment Company.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, oh, sorry. We were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.